Nous continuons cette série des épisodes dans les bâtisseurs et cette fois-ci, on va le faire en anglais car j'ai avec moi un invité anglophone. So I'm going to switch in English. I'm here with Philip REID, the head of innovation of Vinci UK.
Vinci Construction in the UK.
First problem of no translation, but hi Philip.
But it's also a problem of Vinci, right? We have so many different business units, the organization is very hard to understand.
So thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
Maybe to start with, maybe introduce yourself a little bit and tell me more about Vinci Construction UK.
So, I mean, you've introduced me. My job is to try and help the UK division of Vinci Construction to be more innovative, to do things better. We all believe as part of Vinci Construction that we can't carry on doing things the same way we've always done them. We need to do things better, otherwise others are improving and we're going backwards, right? In the UK, we have about 6,000 employees. We turn over about 2.2 billion, not that that's important, but it shows that we have a massive diversity of work as well. In the UK, we do everything through Vinci Facilities for cleaning toilets and building maintenance and building modification, through highway maintenance, highway construction and material manufacturing from Ringway and Eurovia, through to civils works that can be £500,000 up to £400 million or more with Taylor Woodrow. And then you have Vinci Building, which does big building works as well as small building works as well. So there's a really big diversity of work we do. And my job is not to try and do innovation for those people, but to try and educate, inspire, and support. So we do a lot around trying to inspire them, try and make them look up from the grind of the day job and go, oh, but look, there's a light over there. There's a better way of doing something. That's a large part of it.
And how long have you been doing that for Vinci? What's your background a little bit?
I've been with the business since before I graduated. I was here as a placement student. I've been graduating now for 15 years, and I've worked for Ringway, I've worked for Eurovia, I've worked with Taylor Woodrow, and then this role was created in 23, and I took this role. I was the first incumbent in this role in the newly formed UK division. So I've been doing this for 2 years now. Okay,
so you're up in that role that was created 2 years ago. The idea, you talk about education, inspiration. What do you do in that role when you first arrived at that role? What do you do?
Well, my problem was that I'd come from very much a highway-centric background, and now suddenly I'm part of this business that also does buildings and does facility management and all these other things. So I spent quite a long time going around talking to people and finding out what we did as well. But I lean quite heavily on a lot of experts in the business. We spent a lot of time trying to set up a bit of a network of people who want to innovate. We've got innovation leaders now in every business unit, near enough. And I go to them and I say, look, I found this cool solution. It looks cool to me, but you know what? I've never plastered a wall in my life. Is this going to help you? And they really help me to understand what it is that will and won't be relevant to their business.
Okay, so there are some innovation that you see elsewhere, or that you see within the group, or that you see within UK.
Or here today, right?
Or here, exactly today at the launch day. And what's going on is that you put that innovation into the hands of your innovation experts or experts, and then you tell them, okay, is it something that is worth it, and then we should scale it, or it doesn't worth it? How do you know, what's your areas of innovation that you see that the business needs to change? Because producing the same stuff will give us the same results.
Completely. I mean, so here's the spiel I would give, right? That as a business, we have three main objectives: to do what we do in a way that has fewer negative impacts on health and safety, to do what we do in a way that has a better impact on the environment, and to do it profitably and sustainably for the long term, right? We're not here to make quick money and run away. We want to have long-term partnerships with our clients. And the three main challenges we see to doing that are the fact that a lot of our work involves heavy machinery, hands-on tools, and therefore it's quite dangerous. So that's our safety piece. The materials we use often have really high carbon footprints. You talk about steel, we talk about asphalt, we talk about cement, and also the equipment we use, big diesel engines, that's a problem. And we have a real problem as well with quality. I'm not saying that the work we do is bad, but that we have scenarios in which if one of our people was to try and sit down and read all the documents they'd been given, telling them how to deliver a project, it would take them longer to read that than the length of the project. So we have a real problem with our people knowing everything they need to know to do it.
Is that a BRID problem?
No.
This problem of having literally longer paper and regulations and all this stuff and for insurance purposes.
Not just insurance purposes, but because it's so much easier now to create loads of written word. There's copy paste, there's ChatGPT, there's AI tools that will write more and more words. So one of the great solutions that's demonstrating here today is one that will use AI to summarize that for you. And we're looking at those things. You talked about how do we deploy things. There's a great example from last year that really worked. So we came across a Danish company called Cobot. Right?
Cobalt or Cobalt?
Cobot with a K, K-O-B-O-T. And they have a great robotic solution for cutting plasterboard and other boards, sheets of plywood and things like that. And I came across them randomly through a conversation with somebody. I spoke to some of the people, there's innovation leaders in the business, hey, look, would this be interesting? They went, oh, this could be really great. I said, look. So I went over there with a colleague and we saw it in Denmark and said, okay, yeah, no, this is worth looking at. Then we did a demonstration over a Teams call. We did a bit of Teams call with some people and it was like, yep, this is positive. So then we arranged for them to come over and do a tour of 5 of our sites in the UK.
Wow.
So we paid for them. We said, you know what, this could be revolutionary. We need to help our people to adopt it. Just saying you need to buy this doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
No. So we thought, you know what, we'll pay for them to come over with a van and 2 members of staff, and they drove from site to site in a week. They did 5 sites, and we publicised it, and people came to see it from other sites as well. We ended up with about 30 or so people on each of the days. And at the end, and it was great. And we got a load of positive feedback from that. We filmed it, we put that out. And at the end of the day, I only had commitment to buy 1 so far. But hey, they've bought 1 and they're using it. And they're going, this is working. Maybe we should buy some more. So that's a really good story of how you talk about how do we inspire and educate. That was something we tried last year for the first time. I think I might do that again. That worked.
Okay. So, and what are the other areas that you are looking at in the next, couple of years where, what do you see or what do you see change, whether of behavior, whether innovation, like purely technical innovation? What do you see that, in the next couple of years, the thing that you will bring into UK? I'm not talking about specific companies. I'm just talking about the general stuff.
I mean, when I sit down and I look at innovation, I think of things as falling mostly into 3 categories. You have your sort of software innovation stuff, mostly talked about with AI now, but software innovation. You have hardware innovation in terms of equipment, robotics, things like that, mechanical things. And you have materials, material science stuff. And the focus we set last year was very much on the robotics. And that is going to continue to be my focus. The logic being that, digital has been around for a long time now, right? People are grabbing it. You've got the AI team at Leonard who are absolutely brilliant at this.
Doing incredible job. Incredible work, by the way.
We've put 3 projects through their program last year, and they're becoming software now. It's great. We've got another one in this year. It's going really well. So people don't need my help to digitalize, right? Okay. That's no problem at all. Materials, I'm not a chemist. You need to be a real expert to come into the new materials, but there are some really cool materials coming out. If I'm allowed to, say, you said don't talk about a specific one, but there's one I love.
But you can talk about companies, it's okay.
So there's this one called Unipart have bought it now, but it came out of a research laboratory in the UK called Manufactured Reinforcement Systems. So you think of reinforcing in reinforced concrete, right? You think of bars of steel, yeah?
Yes, of course.
That was invented in the late 1800s, okay? And you know what? It hasn't changed very much since then, right? So it hasn't changed. It's still bars of steel and it goes into concrete, right? Yes, we've ribbed them now, and there's different joints. And
then there is optimization of how many.
But it's still optimization, right? It's not big innovation. It's optimization only. The Unipart and the guys that have looked at it and they've gone, you know what? Hey, let's think about this other way. Let's take a steel sheet and let's cut out the bits where we don't need the steel. And then you take your steel sheet and you just join them together at the corners and you make your box.
Okay.
And they're able to laser cut this out. And because the computer designs it, you can optimize it so you're only putting steel where you need to. And the figures they're putting out are that you can increase the strength of the beam you're building by 40% for the same weight of steel.
Wow.
Yeah. Or you can reduce the weight of steel, right? And that's massive. But it's a completely different way of looking at it. So there's some great material stuff coming out. There's a lot of stuff people looking at concrete.
There is a concrete with low carbon concrete. We have lots of things here, and recycling materials that you can put into big anyway.
Big pores and things. But the big.
Tell me more about what you wanted to tell me about the robotics, right? You started with robotics.
Oh yeah, the robots is really, I think, where we're going to get the big benefit, because it has we're trialing one now, which is an autonomous excavator, and
so an autonomous excavator.
Yes, you take the driver out of the cab.
Okay.
It drives itself.
Okay.
It's crazy. You go onto your laptop and you say dig a hole here, and it just goes and digs the hole. And it works. We've watched it working. It's great.
Really?
Yeah, really. We had it on a site last year.
On site or on a quarry? Or?
No, I mean, in quarries it's much more advanced. It's really there about. For construction site stuff is just coming up now, really. There's a couple in the US who've been working on it for years, and now this Swiss company have picked up the baton, and they're pushing.
What's the name of this Swiss company?
Gravis Robotics.
And on the quarries, you guys are already using some robotics in quarries?
A lot of in the quarries, they're using robotic load carrying. So the trucks that are the dumpers, the big dumpers, those are automated. And the benefits you get compared to a human doing it are quite significant. I mean, in the dump trucks, specifically in the quarries, one of them was that they can operate in all weathers. So in the winter, when it's icy, too much snow, too much fog, the driver can't see, so they don't do it. But because the autonomous ones use LiDAR and radar, they don't mind that it's foggy because they're not using cameras, right? So they can carry on working. And Gravis Robotics solution has been really cool, because what it showed us is even when we use it in manual mode, it's putting an augmented reality view onto the... So at the moment, if I tell you I want you to dig a trench this size, right? You'll have a go at it, roughly, based on some spray markers on the ground, and then someone's going to come out and measure it, and they'll go, yeah, you didn't quite get it right? Because by eye, you can't tell exactly, right? But this scans it as you build it and highlights in red the bits you need to dig up.
Okay.
And then once all the red's gone, you've dug it to the right size. That's just brilliant. And there's another thing that they've built it so that, because it's a robot, it has to have an emergency stop, right? But the emergency stop works even if you've got your hands on the controls. So the way we would normally, in town centres, there's electric, there's gas, there's water, and it's a big problem, right? But now you imagine that there's a person watching and they can see a cable. They can see it's just about to hit the cable. Instead of them shouting and jumping up and down and trying to get the driver to stop, they press a button. Yeah. So I reckon that might, this is early days, but we reckon that might really stop. And you'd think we've had scenarios where we've accidentally disconnected hospitals.
I'm joking, but it's not funny.
It's funny in a sort of dark humour, sort of, oh my God, I can't believe we disconnected a hospital sort of way. But these things do happen, There's crucial electric, gas and water in the ground. So, sorry, your original question was about the focus. I do think it's going to be on robotics, because I see that as where we can make the biggest strides in quality of what we do, productivity. We can do more for less. We've already had demonstrations of one person driving 3 dump trucks. Right, that's established in some quarries now. The Japanese...
And you have that deployed in the UK? A single person driving 3 dumper trucks at the same time?
There's also an example in the US as well, yeah.
In the US, I'm imagining it, Okay, yeah. In the UK, I was not sure,
We're getting there. And there was, that sort of... in Japan, they've done something where they had something like 20 items of plant building a dam, right? Almost autonomously. So that bit is coming, and so massive productivity benefits there, right? You can imagine you've got one person, and instead of they're sat out in the cold, in a cab, they're sat in an office, air-conditioned, and they've got a button in front of them to change between machines they're driving.
Automation, robotics.
Yeah. And safety, massive safety benefit. Because, I don't know what the statistics are in Europe, but you look at fatalities in construction.
Yeah, it's still a lot.
It's still a lot. It's a bad number, and it's not getting lower. It's flat now.
Yeah, it's completely flat. True. And then, so last question, because I know we are short on time. You need to look at all the innovation out there.
That's what I came here for.
Yeah, exactly. So, last question, and then we're done. Is let's say we have this conversation in 5 years. What would you have achieved? Or what would be the single KPI that you will be looking at for the next 5 years? It's another way of putting the same question.
Yeah. So I think the biggest impact I actually want to make is not about any particular technology that we bring in.
Of course not.
It's about hearts and minds. And, the campaign this year is very much on getting our people to, instead of say no but, to go yes if, or yes if, or yes and, but definitely start with yes, and be willing to try things, because, you know, if you look at the curve of distribution of early adopters, early majority, late majority, laggard, you know, in construction it very much seems to be skewed towards the late adopters. We're not risk takers. We don't grab the technology straight away. I'd like to know that we've skewed that a bit to the left. How I measure that, not sure, but...
the number of yes we can.
Exactly, right? I might start measuring it when we start saying things. How many people go, yeah, okay, let's do that. That'd be hard to measure, but yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Philip, for your time. Appreciate that. And let's see the innovation in 5 years down the road in Vinci Construction UK.